Hey. Hey, I think we're live. Okay, I think we're live. Okay. Well, hello, ladies. I'm excited that you're with me tonight to just kind of talk about your health journeys and just to start off of the evening. For those of you who may or may not know who I am, my name is Maria Elshouse. I go by Coach Maria. I am a healthy lifestyle transformation coach, and I help individuals create optimal health in their life for the long term. Just to share a little bit about my story, about 12 years ago, I was barely surviving. I was pre-diabetic. I was depressed. I was pretty much very, very lost. And I had a moment of truth. I was at Kennywood with my son. We went to go on the roller coaster ride, and mom almost didn't fit. So fast forward to today, I've had a health journey that has been incredible, and I've released 130 pounds, and I've been able to keep it off for over, let's see, 11 years will be this May. And this is truly my passion, to help individuals really help themselves create health long term and truly get off that craziness of fad diets and not understanding what to do, not understanding why they're doing what they're doing, and just help them create optimal health and well-being in their life. So I'm really excited tonight because I have two very special guests on with me, who I've had the privilege of being invited to walk alongside them on their health journey. And before I introduce them, well, let me just introduce them. So this is Katie Dunleavy, and this is Jenna Masiosi. And these ladies, I do want to celebrate them and take a moment to embrace what they do. I see them as part of our healthcare hero community. They are both nurses. They give a lot every single day when they go into their jobs, and they serve people that they truly, truly want to be there for and want to help. And what's really awesome about what they do is they help babies. So I'm excited to celebrate them tonight, and they're going to share their stories about their challenges with their jobs as being nurses and everyday lives and family. And they're just going to share a little bit about their story, what made them really make that decision. And let's just help me celebrate them. So I first want to start off with Katie. So Katie, why don't you just start with, just in a couple minutes, share a little bit about yourself and your story and what really made you make that decision to it's time.
Okay, so this is actually my first attempt at weight loss. I have been an athlete my whole life. I did cross country, track, soccer, basketball, all of that. Even through college and undergrad, I was working out religiously, eating incredibly healthy. And then after I graduated college, I decided to go back to nursing school, and I was doing an accelerated program that was ridiculously vigorous. There was no free time. You couldn't. So I started grabbing food on the go, and my husband would pick me up from school, and we'd grab a pizza on the way home. So it became like all about convenience. And so I was just like picking up stuff and eating fast food and greasy and salty and all of that. So it was a 12-month program, and before my third semester, 3 months before I was done, I found out I was pregnant with my first. And so then obviously you can't lose weight and get back into it. So I I had a very healthy pregnancy. I didn't gain excessively or anything like that. Delivered a beautiful baby boy in February of 2018. Um, and after that, I was the heaviest I've ever been, and I was really uncomfortable. So I started, of course, it was the middle of winter, which is, everything is harder to work out in lovely Pittsburgh. So fast forward a few months and it's spring and would be the perfect time to start getting into shape. And I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. So again, same thing. I was up at that weight, up 25 pounds from my starting weight before I had my son, which was already up a few pounds from before nursing school. Had another beautiful, healthy pregnancy, gained the same amount of weight, except now my threshold is higher, and had a beautiful baby girl in April of 2019. Go forward about a year, on and off. It was just busy. I was in survival mode with two kids under two. So it was still about, we were doing convenience food, we were eating fast food, we were making chicken nuggets and mac and cheese, and I was eating stuff off the kids' plates and just run, run, run. And then the pandemic hit and I got pregnant again. And it was
Okay.
after I had my third little boy, Flynn, in January of 2021. It was about six weeks, I think, after that I got in touch with you. It was the same thing where I got pregnant, gained the appropriate amount of weight, but then I stayed there. And then I gained the weight, and then I stayed there, and then I gained the weight again. And I was by far the heaviest. I was not comfortable in my own skin. I was sleepy. I felt groggy. I felt like I wasn't fully there for my kids. So that was really actually kind of like the point for me, is that I wanted to have the energy and to be a good example for my kids. Um, and so I actually am 30 pounds down from where I was whenever I had him, which I never thought I would even have that much weight to lose, but it's a huge accomplishment and I feel so much better now.
Mhm. Well, congratulations. And maybe you can share, you know, as a nurse, share some of your challenges because, from previous experience growing up myself, my mom was a cardiac nurse for 30 years.
Okay.
And I saw the demands on her, the lack of sleep, trying to raise a family. And so maybe share some of like the challenges that you had during your journey, but how the experience and the program helped you in terms of keeping on the path to, long-term health.
Um, so I mean, the biggest challenge is, like you said, we work with babies. When I started, I was doing postpartum nursing, and now I'm doing labor and delivery. And those patients, for whatever reason, tend to be very generous. Lots of baskets of goodies, cookies. People buy pizza, donuts, all that stuff. So that's always sitting around. And then you're super busy, so you're running nonstop. And there's days where you don't have time to sit and eat, pee, drink water, any of that.
Mhm.
So that stuff is just sitting there. You take a bite, shove it in your mouth, and go. And it's just, you don't even think about it. So I think that is a big thing, is like kind of mindless, just shoving stuff in your mouth. And the other thing that I really struggle with is the switching back and forth. We rotate shifts, which isn't natural. I mean, it is what it is, but um, night shifts, I crave like sugar and greasy food. I will pack like a beautiful, healthy lunch for the middle of the night and still want sugar or like quick energy. Um, so learning how to kind of space out fuelings and making eating on a regular schedule to keep my energy was very helpful. And just kind of like learning how to, and even whenever I don't, especially once I started doing labor and delivery, if I'm in the OR, things like that, I can't just stop and eat. But being aware and that I have something and I can still grab a quick bite after, it's made it a lot easier.
Mhm. So, so the simplicity and the structure of, working through my programs, and, tell us a little bit about, you know, what you've learned along the way and the tools that have helped you in terms of the educational component, and understanding what optimal health truly looks like, or, looks like to you, because everybody, it's different. So maybe you can share a little bit about, what's changed, how the structure, how the tools, and how the coaching helped you.
I mean, I think the biggest thing is I kind of got out of survival mode and started realizing that it it is my decision ultimately. And like you always said, like it's the 6 inches between your head. And I think that was pretty pivotal in making sure that I realized that if I decide to eat a piece of cake, that's okay. It's not a bad thing. It's just that was my decision. And then what I do going forward is my decision as well.
Mhm.
And I did find the life book, especially at the beginning, helpful because it went through, I don't know, just different. It just gave me things to think about, specifically like how, you don't necessarily have to have a full on workout every single day. Whereas if you just add motion, like not like walking further from the car to the grocery store, or doing something by hand that you could use a machine for, like things like that I never really thought of as being helpful, but it made me think, and it continues to make me think.
Mhm. So, one of the biggest things, and I know you're not a chronic dieter,
Mhm.
and many of my clients fall into that range just because they've never, because of just people just don't know how or where to start, or so maybe you can share, like, what have you learned about yourself, and what have you learned about, overall nutrition? But most importantly, I know I'm asking you a lot. Most importantly, the biggest thing is, why was this so important for you to take charge of your health?
um so what was the first question again? Sorry.
That's okay. No. So what's changed for you from prior journey, previous, before you started your journey until now, in terms of yourself?
So I think like thinking of convenience, um it's not necessarily like healthy things like fruits, veggies, things like that can be convenient. It doesn't necessarily need to be a quick on the go grab it from takeout, because even during the pandemic we were doing DoorDash a lot.
Mhm.
So it's been good for health and our bank accounts, just
Mhm.
cooking stuff and having it readily available. And even like um one thing that I found, celery with like that laughing cow cheese was a really good snack. And just having things like that conveniently around is a big thing that I've changed. Um, and I mean, my real motivation for doing it all is my kids, and I don't want them. Um, I mean, I grew up with a fairly good role model as far as health. My mom, I don't even think I tasted real butter until I was like a teenager. She, it was always a vegetable, like a protein, and some kind of a starch for dinner. Um, I don't know, my mom is just very clean as far as her eating habits. So I don't want my kids to fall into traps like going to Wendy's because it's easy. Like, I don't want them to think, they're so young that I don't want them to think that that's normal and an okay all the time thing. So I want them to like some of these foods, like celery, broccoli. I want them to get a taste and enjoy them, and not kind of only taste chicken nuggets and mac and cheese and stuff with lots of sugar. That I have discovered is, especially as I've gone through this and then as I went into the maintenance phase, and like I said, over the holidays, things got a little crazy. I ate like a lot of sugar, and I realized that how addictive sugar really is, because it had been so long since I had let myself kind of just indulge, and then it's like you can't stop, and then you kind of got to snap out of it. Like, all right, you can have a little bit, but you don't need to eat a whole cake. Like, so I think that that's what I've learned about myself too, is that is like how easily I can get sucked back into it. So
But I think that's human, right?
yeah.
I mean, we're human, and it's hang on one second. I'm trying to do something here and it's not letting me for some reason. I don't know what I did here.
Were you trying to unmute?
Okay, there we go. Yeah,
Okay.
I got it. But see, we're human, and this is a lifelong journey, right? And what I'm hearing from you is you've learned to be self-accepting, and you've learned to have the healthier mindset of, you know what? It was a choice that I made. It wasn't the best choice. I'm feeling it now. I know what to do. I just have to continue to fall forward, right? Because this is a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
And we're all human. I mean, I'm not by any means perfect either. I have my moments, where I sometimes where I still struggle. People don't think I do, and I still struggle at times,
Yeah.
But the thing is we've learned, that it's okay. We just need to keep falling forward to keep that long-term health,
Yeah.
In terms of like how you feel overall with energy versus before, like, can you just talk a little bit about that?
I mean, it's made a big difference. I'm still not getting sleep because I know that that is a big component, but my kids, the oldest is going to be 4, so there's not much sleep in this house. But even so, I still feel like I don't get as many lulls in the day where I just feel dead. I feel a little bit more even. So while I'm still sleep deprived, I feel a little bit less up and down.
That's good. That's good. So overall, your biggest takeaway from making the decision to take charge of your health, what would you say your biggest takeaway is overall from the program and what you've learned?
I mean, I think the biggest takeaway is that you're your biggest enemy and your biggest supporter. So it's all a mindset.
For sure. And in terms of accountability, can you talk a little bit about, how the accountability was helpful as well?
I think it gave me a way to kind of talk to somebody whenever I would slip up or when I was doing good. It gave you like that added reinforcement. Because sometimes it's hard when everyone around you isn't on the same exact doing the same thing, and just having that added reinforcement.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing, and congratulations. And I look forward to, continuing for us to, walk alongside you in your journey, because Coach Maria will always be here, as Jenna is going to share now. Hello, Saucy. We have a little guest with us tonight, and I'm so excited because I can't wait till, I shouldn't push her this far, but Alania, I can't wait till she gets like, yeah, I can't wait. Grandma will be running all over the place. So, Jenna, I'm excited to have you, girl. It's been a journey. And why don't you just share with us your story, why you decided to take the journey, and yeah, and I'm excited that you're here because we have lots to celebrate with you too. You're
She's muted.
wait, hang on, wait.
Okay, here I am.
There you go. You got
Okay,
it. Okay.
It's funny because Katie has 3 kids and I have no kids, but here I am with a kid. Yeah. So, but yeah, thank you so much for even thinking of me, because this is such an amazing opportunity, and just to have taken this journey and have you by my side. It's not that I even gained a coach; I gained like a best friend. Like we still talk. I invited Maria to my wedding. So she got to see me after my weight loss and see me walk down the aisle and feel so beautiful on my wedding day. So there's just so much more than just coaching. And in this, it's way beyond friendship even.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My daughter that I never had.
Yeah. It's like a daughter from another mother, basically, is
Yeah,
what I always say.
yeah. You can always be my stepdaughter, Jenna. How about that?
And I married an Italian man, and I feel like you gained another son in this too.
For sure. It's
Yeah.
it's been a lot of fun, no doubt. So what really made you make that decision that it was time? Because you and your mom, you guys kind of walked alongside together with me.
Yeah.
And
I honestly was like Katie, like my whole life I played soccer and I was very active, and my undergrad's in biology. So that 4-year degree was extremely stressful. And I think I would stress eat and just eat on the run constantly, pull all nighters. I was very unhealthy. And I did do like a program, which, made nationwide television, which was called Nutrisystem, but it didn't teach me how to like change my ways for life. Like it just was like, okay, I lost some weight, I ate their food, and then I was done. But then what? You're not going to eat their food forever. So then I ended up just gaining it all back and then some. And then, I went in, I did the same program Katie did, a very accelerated 69 credits in 11 months at Duquesne to become a nurse.
wow.
And I mean, your full-time job was to school. So like you just ate on the run, you were constantly stress eating because you didn't have time to cook. You didn't even really have time for anything but school. So I was just eating on the run constantly. Maybe lost a little bit of weight after nursing school to, feel good about myself again. But then I just feel like when COVID hit, everyone was like, oh, we're gaining all of our COVID weight. And I just didn't want to be that person. Like everyone was gaining weight for COVID and oh, yep, it's the COVID-15 or COVID-19, like joking the 19 pounds. And I was like, I just don't want to be that person that keeps gaining and feeling like the holiday, because COVID kind of really hit hard in January, February, or no, that was everyone was talking about, oh, like we're gonna the COVID-19, the 19 pounds, but or the COVID-50. I mean, they were just making up numbers, and I just didn't want to be that person. And I realized after the holidays, looking at pictures, oh my God, my face is so full. I feel so lazy. I'm so tired all the time. All I want to do is sleep. And I just felt so ugly that I would cry. And I didn't want my fiance even to kiss me, because I was I just feel so gross. Why would you want to kiss someone like me? And I had zero self-confidence, zero worth. I had zero confidence, zero self-worth. And I finally was I saw, a friend and, said, you have to meet Maria. And I mean, it just changed my life, because I never felt so pretty in my entire life than I have the past year. It's incredible. And even my friends
inside and out, Jenna.
but I never felt that way. And it's so weird. I never was told, oh, you look so good. And getting compliments left and right is just so hard. It's breathtaking, because I'm never ever was complimented in my 20s. And that's they say you're in your prime in your 20s. I was not in my prime.
Yeah. So from when you started the program till now, like what's different now? And like what's different? You know, like Katie mentioned earlier, you know, the 6 inches between the ears is really where it starts. You know,
Yeah.
it is truly mindset, you know. So
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
you can share a little bit about that.
I just feel like a whole new person. Like I have way more energy. I don't like, and I'll be the first to admit, like I'm human. I do feel like food is an addiction, and I admit to it. And before I just always wanted to eat, but now I kind of have to really stop and think and be like, okay, you had a really bad day at work. You know, you had a stressful day. Like, do you really need to come home and drink a half a bottle of wine and then a whole bag of chips with dip like I used to do? And I feel like I would stress eat. And now I know there's so many other ways to channel your stress. And like Katie mentioned, patients are very generous. Like we, you know, get Dunkin' Donuts all the time, and pizza and Panera and cookies, and especially around the holidays. Oh my gosh, I feel like every physician in the whole hospital got Oakmont cookie trays. And you have to be able to, you know, think the old Jenna would have had like 20, but you know, the new Jenna can be having 1 or 2 and be okay with that, and doesn't need the whole thing. I can just be happy without having zero self-control. Like I'm way more self-aware now than I ever was, and I feel like I have more control than I ever did.
What do you think helped you like get that?
The book that I definitely have been following, I know you recommended a few books, but just the healthy steps, and then also the one book about like kind of depending on more your faith in God rather than just food as your own. And I feel like, and I'm not even a big reader, like, you know, that I'm like, oh God, I bet reading really did kind of make me kind of step away and really look at the whole picture. And really evaluate like my life and my habits.
Yeah, because if we don't know, when we know why we're doing something, the how comes easy. You know, if we don't know why we're doing it, like why did you want to be nurses? Right? What difference is that going to make in your life? Why did you make that decision to serve? You know, why is it meaningful to you? Why does it matter? You know, you got to ask yourself those big questions, and understand why you're doing this, to keep your eye on the prize and to always remind yourself that this is why, and this is important to me, you know. And, you know, we can look at your wedding dress. It was absolutely gorgeous, you know, and that could have been a, you know, sometimes we need that extrinsic motivator to really help us intrinsically get motivated, because we see that momentum coming, you know. And Katie, you could chime in here too. When you get that momentum, your confidence starts to build, and you know, you start to take off. Like, you know, you're on the runway, and then all of a sudden, you know, it takes up and you hit a little bit of turbulence going up there, you know, and you might hit a bump or two as you're kind of getting, you know, flying to your destination. But, you know, we're always going to have a little bit of turbulence in this journey. You know, we're always going to have bumps, right? The important thing is to keep your seatbelt fastened, you know, and don't let the bumps get you to, you know, all over the place, so to speak. So, what can you share in terms of what can you share in terms of, you know, moving forward, you know, and your mindset about, you know, health overall, like your meaning, what health means to you now?
Health, and I feel like, is the basis of who I am now. Like I want to feel healthy. I want to live a long, fulfilling life. Like I want to live to 100, and I don't want to ever have to, you know, I know genetics plays a part, and I know my mom struggled with food and addiction and being obese, and I know she lost all the weight. You know, we were the mother-daughter duo. We did it all together. But I feel like being healthy is like so important to me now. It's not on the back burner. I want to be healthy. I want to feel energized. I want to feel confident when I look in the mirror. I want to, like every girl wants to feel pretty. And I don't think I realized how unhealthy I was until I look back now at pictures. Pictures are, you know, worth 1,000 words. And I was like, but I think I was almost in denial before. Like, I didn't think I thought, oh, I'm a little heavy, but it's like, you know, people are like, oh, you should try, you know, different things. And I'm like, no, I'm actually good where I'm at. But then when I look back and I tried the jeans on that I used to be in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe I let myself go this bad. And it like blows my mind that how health was not important to me. Like I was comfortable in my own shoes, but like I wasn't when I was in the mirror. Like, it's so hard to explain, but it's a whole new
Yeah.
change.
I mean, you know, I'm sure Katie and I both can relate to that. You know, it's not that
Absolutely.
it's about vanity. You know, we don't want to make but when you get that momentum going and
This
you
like,
get
hey,
that first 10 pounds, 10, 15 pounds off, like you feel, I mean, at least for me,
oh yeah,
I just started to feel like, yeah, I got this. Like, yeah, I finally got this, you know, and for me, you know, my confidence just started to skyrocket. Like, I'm not the same person I was obviously 12 years ago. Like 12 years ago, I would have never dreamt of speaking in front of 300 to 500 people like I do now, you know? And maybe you two can offer some of that. Like, what do you just feel like, oh, this is no big deal now. I got this, just because you feel much better in your own skin. And it's different for everybody, you know, but maybe you can share a little bit about that if you'd like.
I mean, as far as feeling better in my own skin, it was so after I had my daughter, who was my second, I remember having to go out and buy a bunch of clothes that were bigger because I didn't fit in any of my like pre-kid clothes. And that was a moment of, oh God. But kind of like Jenna said, like I didn't feel good. Like I would change outfits 1,000 times before I would go out. But everyone around, like even my mom was like, oh, you're not that big. Like you just had a baby. You need to remember you just had a baby. But it wasn't really until I started this. And like you said, like that first 10 pounds, and I was like, all right, this is working. And then I'd go a little bit further. And by the end of it, the clothes that I went out and bought for my honeymoon, which was well before kids, that I never dreamt I would wear. Honestly, I actually was surprised I even kept them. They were in storage, and I didn't have any shorts because all those clothes that I bought after my daughter were like too big to the point they were falling off. So I pulled those clothes out and they were too big. And that was actually one of those moments of realizing like, wow. So I had to go out, and me and my mom went out actually before this Christmas, and that was one of my Christmas presents is I got a bunch of clothes that were smaller because even the clothes from back pre-kids, pre-nursing school were too big for me. So that was a very big, because I think I'd gotten to like not a plateau, but I'd reached my goal weight and the maintenance, and I think I wasn't getting that, oh, wow, I'm like this much less weight. And I think that it wasn't until I realized that the dramatic difference that I realized that, and I started to kind of get that confidence again that I got initially after the weight loss.
Jenna?
I agree with Katie. Like when you look back and you think, oh, like I haven't weighed this since like before high school. And like when people start noticing, that is like even more of a motivation. Like when they're like, you know, you see people at the hospital and like, did you lose weight? And you're like, oh my God, people are starting to notice. And then like when people are like, oh my God, you're so skinny. And you're like, I haven't been called skinny since I was in elementary school. Like it makes you, your confidence will just skyrocket.
Mm-hmm.
Like like I said before, like I never thought that I would get into a size 4 again. Like I accepted that. Like, oh, you know, you're not supposed to be how you were 16, and I'm a size 12, and you know, at least I'm not a 16. Like a 12 is not that big. And then you see in Hollywood, oh, but like, you know, healthy, most girls have curves, like a size 12 is great. But then like when you really start to realize like, oh my God, I'm really not healthy and I'm tired and I'm sleeping all the time and I'm eating so bad and I don't feel pretty and I feel disgusting. And like you put yourself down and you get into like a depression and then you like eat more. And I already struggled with depression like before this. And I feel like that's why I ate all the time. And that's why, but then you feel worse after too. So it's just like a cycle and it's like a spiral, like downward. And
I
then
completely agree.
when you
Yeah.
get control again though, and you feel good again, like your confidence will just, it's not even about confidence. I feel healthy for like the first time since I played soccer. And I'm not even like, I still to this day don't like the gym. And it's crazy because I was able to achieve weight loss and like be healthy without having to go to, you know, some people kill themselves at the gym. I go 5 days a week. Like I'll never be that girl. And I'm okay with that because I've had my knee surgery 3 times. Like I'm okay with not going to the gym and still being able to be healthy. Just, you know, and I still have people tell me, oh, I'd rather go to the gym and eat what I want and eat like pizza and pasta and all the carbs I want and just go to the gym and eat what I want. And I'm like, well, I'd rather eat healthy and not have to constantly work myself to death all the time.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a really good point, and I know we're going longer than what we want, but I think we're having some good conversation here. You know, people have this concept in their head, and I did for many years, women especially, exercise more, eat less, eat less, eat less. And when you
Yep.
do that, you're totally creating a stress environment in your body, and your body's going to go into fight or flight mode, you know, and you end up working against yourself. You know, there's a whole nother discussion that I could do on that in terms of your metabolism and the damage that creates. But, you know, it's not as simple as calories in and calories out. You know, a calorie is not a calorie. It's nutrient dense food versus calorically dense food. And, you know, that's what this journey is all about too, is really understanding what truly is, you know, a lot of us, oh yeah, I know what to do, but why don't I do it? You know, because it can be overwhelming, and, you know, having that guidance and having the tools and learning and understanding, you know, what truly does nutrition look like and how can I create this balance in my life, you know, because people always ask me, Maria, do you cheat? And I tell them no. And they look at me like deer in headlights, right? Because it's not, when I hear, and I used to do this because I used to compete, right? When I hear it's my cheat day, I want to truly like jump off the deep end, you know, like
You
why
always say that.
just make the decision to mindfully enjoy the simple pleasures in life, and don't make it, you know, don't make it this big, you know, it's my cheat day and I'm going to eat everything, you know. I used to have that mindset until I took my journey, you know. So exercise, there's a lot of benefits to exercise, and, you know, it's mental health, it's, you know, muscle retention, it's joint mobility, it's functional movement, it's, you know, gets released all those feel good hormones. There's so many benefits to exercise, but it plays about this much of a role truly when it comes to releasing weight, you know, and that's a whole nother conversation for another day, because you can't out exercise a highly processed diet. Like you can't. To burn off 1 pound of fat, which is like 3,500 calories, you literally have to run more than a marathon. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't want to run. I mean, I ran a half marathon. That was enough. But you know, this is the concepts that we have to think about, you know, in our heads, you know. So, but let's end this. Let me just share a couple more, just share like 1 or 2 non-scale victories, because I don't want to focus this all on, you know, the weight and the size of the clothes. But what are like 2 non-scale victories that you've learned along the way, as you your journey?
I think more just a self-awareness. Honestly, like I don't have to have a donut to be happy like I used to. Like patients can bring a donut, I can look at it and be like, oh, that was so nice of you. And everyone is eating donuts around me. And I'm like, I'm actually fine. Like, I don't need that. Like, I feel, I don't need, what is that going to do for me? And I feel like before I'd be like, oh my God, give me that chocolate one. So just, I feel like being more self-aware. I don't feel like I ever had that ability like my entire life.
Good. Katie?
I think this was one of the first things I said to you when I did start to lose the weight is I was like, I'm carrying these kids and my kids are big for their ages. I was like, I have to have muscle in there somewhere, but I never saw it. And it was once I started to see the definition in my arms. And I wasn't working out on a regular basis, but I'm carrying my kids all day. And so when I started to see the definition, I was like, all right, this is kind of nice. So that was a big victory for me. And then the other one was I from the time that my second was born, I never really felt like I was present with my kids. And last summer, we spent a lot of time together outside. I was actively participating and playing with them. And that was something that I always felt like I'd be like, please just go play. Like, I'm just going to sit here for a minute. Like, I never felt like I wanted to play with them. And that made me sad. And then I started getting more energy and being excited. So those were things that were really important to me.
So if I'm hearing you, you really felt like you were truly showing up for your kids and having that being like just not that you're not excited, but really feeling like you're showing up for your kids.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is kind of how I felt too when I had my moment. I mean, my son was 13, but I wasn't present for him. I was barely surviving. I couldn't even walk around Kennywood that day because my knees were killing me. And I was only 43 at the time, So when I was able to show up for him, it just, I can't even explain it. And fast forward, now I have a granddaughter that, that was part of my why too, is I wanted to be here for my grandchildren, So, well, listen, I know we went way over but I was having some great conversation with both of you. And I really appreciate your vulnerability because when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, that's when the magic happens. That's when we can truly learn to be our true authentic selves. So thank you for being open and sharing. And, I know there are so many of you out there that you feel tired and you feel like you're in this cycle. And, if I can just share anything with you, we all know how all of you, how you're feeling. We've all been there. We're all on our own journeys, but we're all on the same journey when it comes to health. At least I do, and Katie and Jenna, we want quality of life. We want longevity. We want to have energy. We want to be there for our kids and our grandchildren, for you two someday, because you got a long way to go for that. And maybe some of you know that it's really time for a deep change and you just don't know how to start or what to even do. And just if I can leave all of you with this, just remember, I was the you that made the decision to change. Jenna was the you that made the decision to change. And Katie was the you that made the decision to change. And you can have that healthy life. And, I'm here and I'd be honored to be part of that journey. And, drop me a message. I'd love just to have a conversation and let's take the journey together. So thank you again, both of you. And I feel very blessed to have had the honor to walk alongside of both of you. And congratulations. And again, thank you for doing what you do to serve your patients. And we celebrate both of you. And I know that I truly appreciate what you do every single day. So thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.